So, welcome, and we are on week 8 prayers and meditations by the Mother. And today we have only one prayer with us since it was a bit long prayer, so I thought we'll keep it to one only. It's February 1, 1914, February 1st. So, Swapna, would you like to read the prayer if you're there? Yeah.
Hi, Monica.
Hi.
Actually, I am driving for the next 20 minutes till
Okay,
I'm home.
doesn't matter.
So then
Doesn't
I'll
matter.
be at home, but
That's
I'll
okay.
let you read.
Okay, perfect. Jasmine is also here. Jasmine, would you like to read? Read the prayer. It's only a few of
Sorry,
us.
I have. Yeah, I know. Sorry, Kabir is right next to me.
Acha.
He's next to me. So, sorry. We are
That's
actually
all
in
right.
US right now, so
Okay,
I
okay.
cannot. So, okay.
No problem. I'll read. I'll
Okay.
read. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
So I will go ahead and read the prayer. February 1, 1914. And I think it is one of those prayers which Sri Aurobindo has translated himself from French to English. Wherever there is this little star, there we know that it's translated by Sri Aurobindo. I turn towards thee, who art everywhere and within all and outside all. I turn towards thee, who art everywhere and within all and outside all, intimate essence of all and remote from all, center of condensation for all energies, creator of conscious individualities. I turn towards thee and salute thee, O liberator of the worlds, and identified with thy divine love, I contemplate the earth and its creatures, this mass of substance put into forms, perpetually destroyed and renewed, this swarming mass of aggregates which are dissolved as soon as constituted, of beings who imagine that they are conscient and permanent individualities and who are as ephemeral as a breath, always alike or almost the same in their diversity, repeating indefinitely the same desires, the same tendencies, the same appetites, the same ignorant errors. But from time to time, thy sublime light shines in a being and radiates through him over the world. And then a little wisdom, a little knowledge, a little disinterested faith, heroism, and compassion penetrates men's hearts and transforms their minds and sets free a few elements from that sorrowful and implacable wheel of existence to which their blind ignorance subjects them. But how much greater a splendor than all that have gone before! How marvelous a glory and light would be needed to draw these beings out of the horrible aberration in which they are plunged by the life of cities and so called civilizations. What a formidable and at the same time divinely sweet puissance would be needed to turn aside all these wills from the bitter struggle for their selfish, mean, and foolish satisfactions, to snatch them from this vortex which hides death behind its treacherous glitter, and turn them toward thy conquering harmony. O Lord, eternal Master, enlighten us guide our steps, show us the way towards the realization of thy law, towards the accomplishment of thy work. I adore thee in silence and listen to thee in a religious concentration. So I'll go ahead, and whenever Jasmine, Swapna, if you feel like sharing, please do share. I turn towards thee who art everywhere. So even this contemplation on something which is more than our little personalities, it's very soothing in nature. Whenever we either concentrate our energies on the mother, Sri Aurobindo, or even if there is no form, just something higher and more intelligent than our little brains and minds. Just this little contemplation gives us a lot of rest in the being. So mother turns towards thee who art everywhere, everywhere. Since in Ishavasya Upanishad, this the whole manifestation is for the inhabitation of Lord. So there is no place where the Lord is not. Even in our bitter struggles, Lord is present. Even in our enemies, so-called enemies, Lord is present. I turn towards thee who art everywhere and within all. So also in each being, in each so-called inanimate looking object, like a grain of a sand or a stone or a rock, there in each, within all and outside all. Since forms are just perceptions, it's like they deceive. It appears like my body ends here and then the other body starts. They are separated, but that's not the truth. The truth is our interconnectedness, that even if the clothes that we are wearing, those clothes would not be possible if not for the people who have grown the cotton, the farms where it has been grown, the people who have handcrafted it or either done in machines. Our skin has come from five elements which are all interconnected. So we are not independent beings, we are interconnected beings. So she says that you are everywhere, within all and outside all. So not contained just in a form, but outside also, intimate essence of all and remote from all. So why would mother say that you are the intimate essence but remote also? So it's almost like, when we talk about consciousness, we often, or awareness, the true nature that we are, our pure, pristine awareness, we often talk about relating it to space. So just like the space is all allowing, all pervading, just like that, the consciousness also is all allowing, all pervading. So it allows all the play to manifest, and yet it doesn't hold on to anything. It is beyond everything. So just like that, space also, in space, if there is a building, for example, yes, the space is allowing the building to manifest. Because of the space, the building can be built, but the space is untouched by the building. It's always pure and untainted. So the building may be very dirty and tainted and full of rotten material, but the space is untouched. So just like that, our true essence of consciousness is always pure and safe. It's always untouched, no matter how many sins I may have committed. So that's where the comparison with space comes, the analogy with space comes, that it is always kept safe for us. Our true essence can never, never, ever be tainted and tarnished by whatever actions or sins or things we may commit. And hence it is remote from all because we can't grasp it. Space cannot be grasped, and yet it is everywhere, it pervades everything. So it is intimate essence, this true consciousness, the divine consciousness which allows everything. It is the intimate essence of all and remote from all. It's untouched, untarnished, beyond any grasp. Center of condensation for all energies. And it's because of the center, because of the condensation of energies, that matter develops, for example. So it is the consciousness, true consciousness is the center around which all the energies can be kind of they come together and then form something. The point of concentration, creator of conscious individualities. And when we concentrate all these energy, which is everywhere, when we concentrate, then what do we get? We get individual personalities, like you, me, others, So the true consciousness, the divine consciousness, has concentrated itself in little forms here and there and here and there, so that this manifestation can be created. Creator of conscious individualities. And I think it's a reference to also human beings, because in the human at the human level, we become conscious of our consciousness. A dog also has consciousness, a stone also has consciousness, a plant also has consciousness. But there, this self consciousness is not there, that I am aware of being aware. But at the human level, we have this, we have the possibility of becoming conscious of being conscious. So I think it's a reference to human beings, at the level of human beings, conscious individualities. I turn towards thee and salute thee, O liberator of the worlds. So if left for our little limited minds, we will forever be in bondage. Forever. The conceptual limited mind, which always tries to make sense of things through thought, by thinking about it. That's how we try to make sense of our relationships or work or family, by thinking about it. But we always are entangled, even when we think. We are never able to resolve the entanglements. And how do we resolve the entanglements, O liberator of the worlds? So when we plunge into our own true depths, when we unite with our true consciousness, there we get the liberation from the knot of the ego. So, O liberator of the worlds, and identified with thy divine love. So mother is identifying with the divine love, which is synonymous with true consciousness, the divine consciousness that all of us have. But when I am identified with thoughts and feelings, I am in bondage. I am the ego consciousness. And when I am identified with my true consciousness, that I am the one who is aware, I am awareness itself, I allow the space to be for the thoughts and feelings to come. So when I identify with the presence of awareness, when I identify with presence of consciousness, then I am identified with love. So love is a synonymous, goes synonymously with true consciousness. When we are not limited by our thoughts, sense mind, or limited perceptions, then I am consciously identified as consciousness. Identified with thy divine love, I contemplate the earth and its creatures, this mass of substance put into forms, perpetually destroyed and renewed. So even at the level of physical, we are always being reborn. Even if we look at biological level and physical level of our bodies and other things around us which are having bodies, like physical matter, we see that the matter is changing every moment. So although by appearance it may appear same, like for 10 days the same sand is standing in a sand pot, but that's not true, because things are moving, in cells are dying and being created every moment in our bodies also. So a mass of substance put into forms, perpetually destroyed and renewed. It's like a perpetual change going on. That's why we say that manifestation means change. We are changing every moment, and that's why we suffer when we are uh, resisting the change in our lives. This swarming mass of aggregates which are dissolved as soon as constituted. So also with reference to our human forms, what is 80 years of a life or 70 years of a life in eternity. It's nothing. And many masters have compared human life to a like a little soap bubble. It is there and then it's gone, blasts off. And such fleeting little lives we have, and we make them so heavy and burdensome. So, swarming mass of aggregates which are dissolved as soon as constituted, of beings who imagine that they are conscient and permanent individualities. So, this is our ignorance. This is human ignorance. That we think that we are this bodily self, disconnected from all other bodies. That creates so much of chaos, so much of confusion. Wars happen because of that. You are different, I am separate from you, and hence I can kill you and doesn't matter. Just because of this ignorance, that I don't see the interconnectedness, the oneness that goes behind the bodies. We think that I am this limited self, limited by the body. But I don't realize that whatever I destroy outside, I destroy within myself. So, whatever I hurt outside, I actually hurt within myself. So, a truly conscious being, a true enlightened being, would not be able to hurt any other being, because he would know, have a practical realization that I am not this bodily self that I consider myself to be. There is not that ignorance there. So, we consider ourselves to be permanent individualities who are as ephemeral as a breath. And when we die, 1 second, 1 moment breath is there, and the next moment the breath is gone. Such delicate is our life. In 1 moment, and one can ask, I just met the person on the way and now he is no more. 1 second of a breath and gone. So we are so fleeting, our existence is so fleeting, so ephemeral. And mother says always alike or almost the same. Why? Because we all have same desires, same attachments. We suffer because of our attachments. We suffer because of our desires. We run towards pleasure, run away from pain. We run towards hope and run away from fear. And hence we are constantly kind of grinded, if I can say, kind of ground in between these poles of duality. So mother says always alike. Anger, jealousy, hatred, fleeting love, fleeting joys, fleeting sorrows. So, all that is very common to us. It's like we are all alike. There is nothing personal, really. Always alike or almost the same in their diversity, repeating indefinitely the same desires. Now, we can, also laugh about it, that what kind of a life usually we live. That in circles we repeat the similar or the same desires again and again, or maybe with a reduced intensity, but we do them. So it's as if we are addicted to outer things and objects and people and relationships and work and money and fame. We are addicted to all of that, that this will give me happiness. you know and when it doesn't give, I become a little disappointed, but I don't get tired. I get up again and desire again, just to get another blow, so that I can realize and turn within, that the lasting happiness and joy doesn't lies out there, but it lies within me. So repeating indefinitely the same desires, same tendencies. This is very funny, because if you see, if we become mindful of our mind, where it goes all the time during the day, and the waking state, so-called waking state, you will see the mind goes in the same loops again and again. And for everyone, it may be a different loop, but we are stuck in loops. Like grooves are there, and the mind again and again goes in those grooves. So the same tendencies, the same appetites, the same ignorant errors. And the more we become conscious and mindful of where my thoughts are going, where my feelings are going, the more we see that, oh my God, like as if there is no creativity inside of us, as if it's all goes on and on in vicious kind of a loop. So one can also laugh about it, if we become conscious about it, that what am I doing? I'm going again and again, round and round in circles. Like, what is this machine going on, as if, like default machine. So this, I think this is very important, this line here. Repeating indefinitely, same desires, same tendencies, same appetites, same ignorant errors. If only we could, become conscious of this default pattern that we are stuck into. Just looking
Hi,
at it
Monica.
can be so liberating. Yes, Jasmine, please. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
go
just
ahead.
getting an opportunity.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Go
um,
ahead. Yeah.
no, no, this is really beautiful. But how it's um always trying to like kind of calm the mind and thoughts. And I'm like on a vacation. I'm like visiting my sister, and I'm finding it. My mind is very calm. But it's so calm that I'm not used to this calm. It's like I want to find something. It's to, it, it's funny. Like it's weird. It feels like, how it's the same patterns playing. It feels like I don't know more how to say it, but it's like it's something so new that you're not even used to. The mind gets so, how the grasping nature of mind, when the mind doesn't have anything to grasp, you don't even know how to be that either. It's like feel like I'm looking for something to grasp onto. I don't
Yeah.
know, like I'm obviously not in that calm state, but it's a really weird experience. But at the same time, while I see that, I see the how much there is, how like there's endless amount of desires. Like even in the prayer, how it says, it's still there. Even in this calmness, I see so much desire, so much. I mean, of your own inner movements, of different movements. you know uh, it feels like as if I am still, but other people are moving. But then I come back to myself and I see how much movement you have in yourself. So sorry, I don't know if I make sense, but
Yeah, yeah. No, you do.
it's
Yeah.
something very, very new. I actually thought, like, maybe I'm feeling like it feels like almost a frozen feeling. It's not, you're not used to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But at the same time, when it, it, it's it's like I'm seeing other people. It was sort of a judgment on my part, and or an observation that, it's so pointless things that people are running into. But then when I put it back on me, I see the same way in me too. Even in the quietness, like I'm not doing any actions, I'm not doing like any day-to-day things except for Kabir, but I see how mind without even outside has so many movements. How they say grasping onto. I don't know if
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah. No, I
sorry.
think it's beautiful what you are sharing,
It's
Jasmine.
weird. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't have words to put in because it's like I'm still in the middle of it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
uh, it's like it's so quiet. It's almost like, it's so quiet, but still I don't feel it. I see so many movements,
Hmm, hmm,
but in a
hmm,
different way.
hmm,
So
hmm,
this prayer was just, I think, really.
hmm,
Sorry, I'll let you
hmm,
continue.
hmm. No, this is very important, and also this state that you are referring to, when we begin to live within, more conscious of where the thought is going, where the loops, like loops of feelings again and again they repeat. And as you said, that the mind looks on to for something to latch on to, grasp on to. This is a beautiful observation, because this is what has to be transcended slowly. Because we are born with a desire self, mother, in mother's words, that the journey of human evolution is from living as a desire self which clings on and wants to grasp on, and kind of, as Tenzin Palmo puts it, it has hooks, and it kind of wants to just stick to anything, this or that or this or that. From this level of consciousness, from a desiring self, from a sticky self, the journey is to transcend the desire self and to become non sticky. And we have to, I believe that it's our sadhana, all of us, and it takes a long long time for this sadhana. People spend years in caves and forests just to stabilize this non-sticky state of consciousness, that the more I identify myself as this awareness, presence of awareness, I become available to look at the movements of the monkey mind, and see how, what is the nature of this mind. It goes here and there, it just can't be restful. And that's only because it has been used to behave like that for many many, not even this life but the lifetimes. We have been living as a desire self for lifetimes. So it's like, imagine that you set a ball rolling, and the ball has been rolling for many, many years. Lifetimes the ball has been rolling. So it takes a bit of time before the ball completely comes to an halt and we become habituated to now this kind of a life which is settled within, and not jumping one thing to other. And so it's beautiful what you were sharing. Thank you for
Yeah, I
sharing.
think the word you use, settled within,
Hmm.
it's beautiful. Yeah, it took me like 2 days to actually just sit with it, you know. Not that 2 days are enough and not in that sense, but I'm just saying, even just getting used to the idea. And what you use, like settle within, what I'm finding beautiful is it feels like I'm seeing these things happening, but my mind, like I'm not grasping onto it. Even like mundane things, talks, suggestions or anything, like, even your siblings, you want to, or your family, you want to suggest something, observe. And it's like this space I feel. It's like there's this gap. It's almost feel like I have that gap between even making that choice in that moment, slowing down. It's beautiful. Yeah,
That's
thank
nice,
you.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the masters say that the more awareness stays with this inner space, the more
Mm.
we become familiar and friendly with this inner emptiness, the more this emptiness gives rise to all the positive qualities now, the qualities of goodness,
Exactly.
kindness,
Mm.
wisdom, intelligence, all that emerges out of this pregnant emptiness slowly as we become comfortable with it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is
No, it feels like
nice.
it's something you tasted and you're tempted to stay in that.
Yeah.
But you know how in the prayer Mother said, in where it said, in all intimate essence of all and remote from all. I think this line really like resonates it. And the beautiful thing that you talked about, interconnectedness, I feel, I don't know, it's the awareness that's coming in or the slowing down in general. I feel like even, it never occurred to me before, but it's just I'm feeling even the food we eat, I was thinking about, I was just went for a walk and think, so much goes into a plant, from the little animals to everything. Like it's so connected. And here I buy a $2, something, and I'm like, yes, subdued $2 packet. But how much time, energy, effort, whole world, I know I heard it before, it's the whole universe in it. But to feel in it, it's very humbling and making you feel like a speck of dust. I think they say, I feel like a speck of dust. And that interconnected, and it's so true, Kim. And when I'm interacting now, because I think you're in not in your normal place, you're in a different place. I find I see myself, what you said, there is no other. And मैं हूँ कौन sort of thing, when the people comes, कि who कौन to think that I know better too. So I find, you know, it's good to experience these teachings, and it's beautiful. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yes. Mm. So let's continue, and please feel free to share. It's good to discuss in between, with relating with our practical experiences. So this is very funny. I find this. I think we can do this all our life. repeating indefinitely the same desires, the same tendencies, the same appetites, the same ignorant errors. So, if we become conscious of our own inner movements, it we will become available to the circus that goes on within us, as mother would say, that she would not feel inclined to watch a entertainment outside or a circus outside, when she was a kid, because she knew so much of circus is going within our being. So who needs external entertainment? And then she says, but from time to time, so although this is the state, but from time to time, thy sublime light shines in a being. So there are moments in our life, each one of us has glimpses of such moments, where the true divinity, the true qualities of kindness, compassion, courage, bravery, when we are not limited to our narrow self, but for time to time, thy sublime light shines in a being and radiates through him over the world. And then what happens? How does it trickle? Just a second. And then a little wisdom, a little knowledge, a little disinterested faith, heroism, and compassion penetrates men's hearts. So, this is how the divine radiates itself through these limited individualities. So, all those little moments in our lives, all of us have that, moments of kindness, moments of disinterested faith, where you are in faith, but you don't have a preference of whether it should go this way or that way, like a completely surrendered state in one moment. Little knowledge, you have a true insight that comes in that silence. A little wisdom, as we say, maturity or ripening of a human being. So that shines from time to time in these limited, obscured individualities, as if like a crack in the wall and the sun shines through. Almost that. And the wall is our wall, the wall of ego, the wall of the limited conceptual mind, which is always judging through like a filter of opinions and beliefs. So when there is a crack in that wall, or the heart opens up because of this and that reason, there we see the divinity manifesting. A little disinterested faith, heroism, heroism in the sense that you could not believe that you could do this for somebody else, and you did it. Saved a child's life, or saved somebody here from here and there, and out of just disinterested, there was no personal interest out there, but something in you just wanted to kind of go forward, and at the sake of your life, you help someone. So many stories there are in our practical lives. People jump in the water to save someone. So what is that? So that is coming out of our comfort zones and crossing the bodily limited, suffocated lives. And compassion, true compassion is uh, so many stories of true compassion. The Laila, that the movie that came in between on the Dalai Lamas and Desmond Tutu's lives, so many good stories of true compassion, that even to your perpetrators, you don't want to lose compassion. You don't want to hate them, because the moment you hate them, you hate a part of your own self. So that kind of wisdom and understanding, when this is there, mother says that it's your light shining. And what happens through this light shining? It transforms their minds and sets free a few elements from that sorrowful and implacable wheel of existence to which their blind ignorance subjects them. So, if not for these moments of widening and expansion in our lives, we live as a human being, we live so suffocated lives. Me, my friends, my family, my four walls, that should be okay, and rest everything may go to hell. I don't care much. I may have sympathy, but doesn't matter. So this is the constricted life that we live. very limited lives, and always in the, mother says, implacable wheel of existence. And we have this wheel of existence in Buddhism also. They say that, these poles of duality, running towards hope, running away from fear. This is how we are caught. Running towards pleasure, running away from pain, running towards fame and name, and running away from rejection and defamation, running away, running away from suffering, running towards something which looks more attractive, may give me happiness. So this is as if the wheel of duality in which we are stuck. And it's very important, it's very good if some of us are able to be conscious when the mind runs towards hope and runs away from fear. The moment I'm conscious of that movement, there I create a space, I have a choice not to get again into the wheel. Sets free a few elements from that sorrowful, it's sorrowful life. The if we get a glimpse of an open expansive life that we can live in these very bodies, then we will get to know what a miserable life we live, so called middle class okay life. It's actually a very miserable life, very limited, very suffocated. Our little confusions and doubts about families and relationships, they go on forever, 50 years we are in the same doubts, confusions and entanglements. And if only we open ourselves to the all of existence, then these very little, big entanglements of family, they become so trivial, like they don't matter much. Your what are your sufferings in front of the suffering of humanity? And I feel that Tonglen connected me. Just a second. Yeah. So if we use Tonglen, I feel that Tonglen had really helped, and not had, it still helps right now also, that whenever a little bit of unease comes up, whenever suffering arises, any pain is there, any entanglement is there, to be able to connect with the all suffering, that just like how I suffer in this attachment, the whole of mankind suffers like this in this attachment. So inhaling that suffering, let me inhale all that poison and suffering and unease, and may all of us, including our own self, may all of us have contentment and joy of the present moment. There is such a simplicity in being in the present moment. Simple joy, very simple life, uncomplicated. So when we do this, we connect, we cross our little boundaries. Even if you are at your home doing Tonglen, doesn't matter. We don't have to go outside and meet people for that. But you are making a difference. You are crossing your limited shell of ego. Not wanting now to protect yourself, because the ego wants to protect itself always. What would happen to me if I inhale all the suffering? I'm not even able to help myself in this darkness. How can I help others? But the thing is that the more darkness I take, it's by connecting with the darkness of all that I get deeper strength. It's like the more weight I, we go to gyms for exercising our muscles. Slowly, as I become capable, the more challenge I give myself, the more muscles I, kind of tone. It's not by being in my comfort zones that I would get more muscular and more strong. It's by giving the equivalent challenge that I become more stronger. So it's very interesting, this paradox that the more I inhale the suffering of others, the unease of others, just like this, how I suffer with a restless mind. Look how many human beings suffer with this restless mind. So many of us, almost everyone, the same mind. Everyone has the monkey mind. So if I'm able to be conscious of the monkey mind, in that moment of consciousness of the jumping around and unease that it creates, can I connect with the whole of existence and inhale that suffering and give everything, everyone, contentment and joy of a simple present moment. How beautiful. That helps us cross our thresholds of ego. So this is compassion. Tonglen is compassion in action. And the beauty of Tonglen is that the moment I do this, it creates a shift in my own consciousness. And now I am not identified with the ego consciousness, just like in the first line, Mother was sharing that I am identified with thy divine love. We become identified with love and compassion in the moment that we are doing this prayer and Tonglen. But how much greater a splendor than all that have gone before, how marvelous a glory and light would be needed to draw these beings out of horrible aberration in which they are plunged by the life of cities and so-called civilizations. So what is happening in life of cities? It's a desire and consumerist run life mostly. Look at our malls and shopping complexes and all that. Buy and buy and buy. And even our advertisements, they tell that if you buy this you will be happy, and now we know that that's not true. All that gives me is just a little bit of fleeting something, and that's gone. So many distractions are there, city life. And we think, a few days ago I was on a walk, I was talking to somebody, and we think that as if the purpose of our existence is to have a very secure little life, no harm should happen, and success, maybe in college and education, that's it. Is that the purpose of human existence? Good job, white collar job, good money. And we, all of us know, we all have enough money that we know that, has money got us contentment and true joy? So what are we waiting for? Mothers, yes, Jasmine, you unmuted, you want to share something?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
even the topic you were saying about money, the whole purpose is, I think this feeling, the purpose that, our purpose is to have a security sort of in terms of money, everything. I said it's so big. It's so big that, it feels to me, it feels like it's such a big wall in between, like I find it between me and people that they cannot break through that wall. They can't see it. And it's because it's the dominant thing in our society. People just can't see beyond that. But even internally, I saw this within myself. I don't know if I share, like, in the past month or two, when I had these experiences sitting with myself, I found, like, I think it's something innate within us, to the survival instinct, which we can attribute it to money, food, around. But I think it's something innate survival instinct that we have, that and you can't get past it. Maybe it's the fear that I had to sit with it. And I think I don't know if I shared with you, but at that time, I think I was feeling sick that night. I had got my shot and I was like, oh, thinking maybe something is wrong with me, or I was having some pain too. And I'm like, oh, but at that moment, my instinct wasn't any spiritual or divine. It was like, oh, something is happening to me. I sat, like, I experienced that fear very intimately, like as if something, when we say how do we know? We only good for one breath. But I felt that, like, what if I have to go now? But the next moment when I sat with it, I realized it kind of was a different experience, thinking, all I talk about day in and day out about spirituality and all that, when the moment came, it was just that, I was as if I was reduced to, all the expensiveness that I talk about or I feel. But in that actual moment, all I wanted was save myself. Save what? you know, um, didn't have anything beyond that, but just saying it was interesting experience. And maybe for me, where I am, that's saving the safety that we look for. And for people at different level of conscious, for them the safety is the house, the money, or other things. But to it's it, it's like it. I have nothing to say. It's just something I don't know how you have to how to deal with it or anything. I don't know, but I think it just fades away slowly. Hopefully someday. Um,
Hmm. I think it's beautiful to experience this shakiness and fear. It's beautiful to be, as you were sharing, to be intimate with whatever is happening. And this is very much spirituality, I would say. This is not away from spirituality. To be with whatever is happening and to experience it in the body, because these are such old residues. The ego has lived in uh, matter. The ego consciousness has, we have lived as an ego consciousness in matter for ages. So it's like a deep ingrained subconscious fear, the collective fear, since we are interconnected and we are not separate. So it's like a collective fear that we carry. And it's not like in one go and all the fear is gone. So it's beautiful to experience this fear so close, like in the body, experience the shakiness that fear gives us, and to witness is that itself is so beautiful.
now that I see the other people are, the same safe security, the sensation, I think the feeling deep underneath, it seems same. So how in Mother's Prayer it seems like all the same, where she said similar and all the same, something like that. Sorry, I don't have the prayer. So it's true, like how outwardly it looks so different. Like to me, even where she says, where was it? Sorry, is this the prayer? I think it's a little bit at the almost always alike or almost the same in their diversity, eh, repeating indefinitely the same desires, the same tendencies. Like you actually see that, like how outwardly the play is different, the form is different, but underneath it's all the same. And it brings humility to yourself, because you kind of bring it back to yourself. And I see another layer of desire. It's like an endless journey, how you have talked in your sessions before. It's an endless journey. Anyway, no, just wanted to share. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So this life, Mother says, is a horrible aberration actually. The life that we live, and what we call a normal life is actually an abnormal life. Isn't that beautiful? No, that's just this realization, if one can have in this very lifetime, that the life that I consider to be normal, we socially we consider a life to be normal, like this is how you should live, and kids and family and settling down and getting a job and money and some good promotion. Is that it? That's all? So Mother says this life is horrible aberration. This is not the purpose. We did not come here to settle down. As if we have made our bed on the tracks of a train. And any time the train can come, and the train is death. Existence is fleeting. And what are we trying to do? No matter how hard we try, the train will take all that away. Whatever, no matter how many walls I may create on the track. It's a mighty, mighty train. We can't derail the train. Comes for everyone. And what are we trying to do? We are trying to protect, using all the life insurances possible, to have a safe life on the train tracks. Such is our comedy. Instead of that, we could be doing something else actually, parallelly. It's not that we have to abandon living, but we have to live rightly, slowly. The more conscious we become, we have to begin to live rightly. So let's come to the end, and then maybe we see, what is living rightly. So Mother says this life is an horrible aberration in which they are plunged by the life of cities and so-called civilizations, what a formidable and at the same time divinely sweet puissance would be needed. So it needs might. Like that's why we need blows in life, otherwise we don't wake up. So I personally have felt very happy on my own tragedies in life, and also actually enjoyed difficult times of my friends who were capable of waking up, because to see people who are capable of, like, as if they are standing on the threshold, not waking up. Why? Because repeating the same desires, wanting the same things, attached to the similar relationships. Why are you not waking up? So a blow comes, a tragedy comes, a disease comes, and we know that now something can happen. Now something new can happen. Now it has a chance. So such is the formidable, the might that is needed. Otherwise, our slumber is too deep. Hmm? So, what a formidable and at the same time divinely sweet puissance would be needed to turn aside all these wills from the bitter struggle for their selfish, mean, foolish satisfactions. So, our sweets and candies to which the mind goes again and again. I want this, mother, please, when you will give me this is what I want. To snatch them from this vortex which hides death behind its treacherous glitter. Why death? Because whatever I may get from outward material existence, it's fleeting. That's why it's death. And also, it's death because it takes me away from my true consciousness. The more I depend on relationships and outer situations to make me content and happy, the more I'm approaching death, as if a life wasted. Because I'm not identified with my true consciousness in that moment. I'm ignorant. And that is death. Ignorance is as good as death. What is this life? A life lived by patterns and tendencies of the mind. I am not alive. I become alive only when I take stance as consciousness. Only then a new life begins. So, Mother says that how much might and power and your sweet power would be required to snatch them from this vortex. Imagine that a child who is addicted to lollipops or candies. Now, if the mother is truly a mother and knows that the benefit of child is not in all those sweets, she will have to snatch it away by trick or a trick, treat. Whatever she may do, it will be a kind act. It will be a benevolent act because it is beneficial for the child to be to snatch him away from the candies. Now, the child doesn't have any idea what kind of a life may be without candies, but mother knows. So, just like that, the mother or the divine has to work really hard, I would say, work really hard so that we turn away from our bitter struggle. Actually, it's a bitter struggle. Why bitter? Because we will never get it. That's why it is bitter. It will always leave us bitter. Friends will betray me if I want contentment through friends. They will betray me. Family will betray me if I want contentment through family. Relationships will betray me. My lover will betray me if I want contentment from that. Because that is not how it is supposed to be. So that's why bitter struggle. It leaves us bitter. It leaves us disappointed. Because we look for it in the wrong place. And instead of that, what is possible? That once I'm disenchanted from the existence, the whole of existence, that I'm not going to get a lasting joy and happiness out there. Once I'm disenchanted and sure, then it's beautiful. Because then I am responsible for my joy and happiness. Now I can offer myself to all the outer existence. Now I can be of benefit. Because I will not be manipulating anyone for my own happiness. Now a new life can start, without any bitterness. Because it's not the nature of fleeting existence to give us lasting joy. The very nature is contradictory to what I want. That's why bitter. So it takes a lot of effort from the divine, a lot of love. How much love a mother needs to have for the child, that no matter the child may cry, but I want to take him away from the lolly. Let him cry. So great amount of love and courage is needed, because you have to face the child crying. The child will hit you. The child will say, oh my god, my mother doesn't like me because she is taking away my candy. So he may hit you, but the mother has to be ready for that. So much love is required, so that we can be taken away from this limited, very limited, suffocated life, and open to expanse of what we are capable of, to snatch them from this vortex. And it takes us, round and round. How is the vortex? Like, you can't get away from the vortex. It's like round and round and round. In Buddhism we call it wheel of samsara, like on and on and on in vicious circles we go, to snatch them from this vortex which hides death behind its treacherous glitter. And we don't know when death strikes. And all that we have achieved in this human life, the precious human life, as they say, nothing. The desire self remained the desire self. We were not able to transcend it. Not now. Go outside, ask Papa. Yeah. So it's very important, if even if we have a little bit of consciousness, little bit of awakening, it's very important that I don't waste this precious human life. It's a wastage if I do not become intimate and comfortable with the inner space and bring the mind home to the body, become familiar with that inner emptiness. That's our true sadhana. And consider that space and consciousness as more real than my desires and thoughts and feelings and all that goes on. That is not real actually. So I mistake something falsehood, which is falsehood, as something which is real. And that's why we suffer. Yeah, sorry for that. So yes, and turn them towards thy conquering harmony. So when we become comfortable in our being, mind is home in the body. My awareness is in the body with the breath, not lost in past future worries. There is harmony in the being. And this harmony is a conquering harmony. It conquers all the entanglements that appears from time to time so real. They are not real. They are all illusory. All my entanglements are illusory. They are self-created. And it's only because I don't see the things the way they truly are. I see with filtered goggles and I take them as truth. So it takes a lot of conviction and courage that I now don't trust my stories in the head. I don't. I don't trust uh, all my feelings and emotions which come from time to time about this person, that story, that past, that future. Why? Because I'm deluded. So as Jasmine was sharing in the beginning, it requires humility. It requires humility to know and to say that I am deluded. I can't see clearly. So how can I trust the story in the head? I can't. And that's where I come back home to myself. When I stop trusting in my stories in the head. Conquering harmony. O Lord, eternal Master, enlighten us, guide our steps, show us the way towards the realization of thy law, divine law. What is the divine law? How would we know? Definitely, divine law is not the law of the ego. So if it's with some aggression and a want and a desire that I want something, definitely it's not divine law. So the more agitated I am in my being, the more restless I want something badly, definitely I'm straying from the divine law. So the divine law unfolds itself when the mind comes home. Then whatever situation happens, we go through it. Now I'm not trying to fix things in certain way. That trying to fix and control is the law of the ego. So that has to be put to a halt, by becoming conscious of it. Towards the realization of thy law, towards the accomplishment of thy work. And divine work is also the realization of who we truly are. So sadhana, keeping the mind home, keeping this harmony inside of us, not believing in thoughts about past and future that we have. They are not true. We don't know. So many forces that are at play. We don't know the true picture. Nobody can know the true picture. So to have that humility to say that I don't know the true picture. Hence it is futile to have opinions and judgments about people and myself and what happened in the past and future. Futile. I adore thee in silence and listen to thee in religious concentration. So, this coming back home to ourselves, listening to the inner space. And in listening, there is not a agitated listening that, oh my God, I'm not able to listen anything. Not like that. Just being with that inner space, being with that inner so called blackness, voidness, stabilizing ourselves with, familiarizing ourselves with that inner stillness. That itself is beautiful beginning and a long process, since we have a hard time stabilizing it. Again and again something else becomes glittery and the mind is lost again. So one has to bring mind again home. Although each experience gives us, I would say, more wisdom, more ripening. So it's not that the experiences of getting lost are bad, but there is also another life possible for us if we consciously collaborate with the divine work. There is a new life waiting for us. If only I could have the perseverance to give it a chance and let go of my stubbornness to have things my way. If only. Yeah. So I think from my side, I've said really too much. If there is any reflection, we can take that up. Anyone?
Yeah, Monica, I was just contemplating what you said at the very beginning of the prayer as well, which was that, this, I turn towards thee who art everywhere and within all and outside all, intimate essence of all and remote from all, center of condensation of all energies, creator of conscious individualities. And I was just, somehow it just struck me at a deeper level of, you were saying of just like when one is really aware, and is aware of being awareness. And if the divine is really in me, as me, around me, then somehow there's more of a choice, or control seems too big a word, but just somehow more of a choice element as to not being such a plaything of thought. Like just really getting somehow through this prayer of it. That's what they're saying. That's what I mean. That's what I've read and heard and believed for all these decades of my life. And it's like, wow, if it's really the divine, then there's absolutely much more space to not buy the story, and not, I think that last line you have as well about, the thought, what is it? I can't read it because I'm on my phone. After the prayer, about the space.
Yeah, in the gap between thoughts, non-conceptual wisdom shines continuously. Yes.
Yes. So that non-conceptual wisdom, somehow that being a synonym also, with the end of the prayer when Mother's saying a religious concentration. When she says, I adore thee in silence and listen to thee in a religious concentration. Just somehow all of that leading for me to this awareness of the silence, of space, the you're just freeing me somehow to be much more where there is always this choice to focus on the stillness, focus on the space, and somehow this religious concentration, mother herself saying this, and religious, like, why that word, why religious concentration, and this idea of a religion is followed for one's whole life, or for many people it may not be for everyone. And so that element also, of really choosing to follow the concentration and choose the concentration and dedicate oneself to it.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. And I think that's why good that you brought this up, because that's why mother also in integral yoga, mother talks about self mastery. Mastering our thoughts and feelings, mastering our mind, mastering our vital and the physical. So without identifying ourselves with this true consciousness, or the gap, as you said, that I am that non-conceptual wisdom that is between two thoughts, the space, there. So the more we identify and make that concrete and real rather than the stories in the head, the more self mastery it gives us. Now, in Savitri also, Sri Aurobindo says that Prakriti, it appears that Purusha, or the consciousness, is the plaything of, or a puppet of Prakriti, like we are, So the more we live in ignorance, thoughts and feelings, what are they doing? They are puppeting us. Now, the more I take stance as consciousness, now Prakriti becomes a playmate. This is exactly what Sri Aurobindo says in Savitri. So the movements of Prakriti are not something to be discarded. Thoughts, feelings are not something to be discarded. But in the beginning, in ignorance, Purusha surrenders. She says, okay, you will be the master. You puppet me around so that I can grow conscious of myself. So there is a purpose to the play also. Now when I'm growing in my consciousness and knowing and identifying myself as that blue sky of awareness, I am that, then the movement of Prakriti, or the life happenings, or the thoughts and feelings, can be my playmate. So that's the beauty of self mastery, as you were bringing about. That comes into picture now only. Before that, there is no mastery. There is only mastery of Prakriti, which is our tendencies, patterns of thought, repeated loops. They are alive. So Prakriti is the master. This is Prakriti. All that moves from here and there, the patterns, the thought, emotional patterns, the thought patterns, the way we think again and again in the same vicious loop. This is nothing but Prakriti. But the Purusha remains subdued only as long as it doesn't become conscious of itself. So the more we gain consciousness, because this movement like a puppet, it makes us suffer. So through suffering, we rise up in our consciousness, that this is enough. Now I am ready, I am available to mature and ripen. And now Prakriti, the same Prakriti which was earlier puppeting around, now it can become a playmate. So now it can appear more as a Leela rather than a Maya. So that's the beauty. Yeah. And this can give rise to deep feelings. Now feelings again are not bad. Feelings of compassion, love, true love, not a love that wants to manipulate and wants the other to dictate on my, what I want. A love which cares, which benefits others. So same feelings, the same Prakriti, thoughts which are helpful thoughts which are beneficial, beneficial for the other person and myself. So now the more I become master of myself, that's what integral yoga is about. Becoming master, consciously taking the throne. So this is all on the path, what you just shared. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, in some, what can I call it? Maybe modern spiritual thought, or maybe even New Age, there's this whole concept. Or it's one passage in Sundat Path, also Mother saying that, this idea that you can manifest Like what you think
Hmm.
comes about. And where my mind was contemplating is, we were saying earlier in the session, I heard you say, it's like if a mother takes away the sweets and lollies that we depend on, just so we can see what it's really about, the true joy or happiness. And then in this, when I was saying about the modern spirituality, I mean, this idea of like, get clear on your goals and your desires and manifest them and make them happen. And somehow by visualizing them, by meditating on them, it can all come about. But oftentimes people like Anthony Robbins or, some people are really focused on an outward thing. There's a promise of, whether it's a Lamborghini or if it's $1 million on your business or, all these things. And I think, I used to think, now, is that a sign, when you're getting all your desires, essentially, how can that be a sign that one is truly aligned? Yet somehow it has this kind of Hollywood lights about it that way. Yet in the yoga, it's often about, in a way, being denied, like things that one counts on for identity are taken away, or there's disappointments there, But at the end, it made me go, I wonder if the reason that is so, the things that we lean on seem empty in the end, just in order to get to that spaciousness, to get to the non-conceptual. But I've never been able to quite make the link of like, okay, is it then, those that do say, you can manifest, or, when you're getting all the things you really want and you start to really make them come about in your life, that's a sign somehow of spirituality or inner mastery.
I think there is a link. There is a link because, so it's not, I'm not talking about manifesting all the desires that I have, because I don't have an experience of that, so I can't talk about that. But there is certainly, for example, we remain stuck in our relationships, for example. And although I want a fulfilling relationship, but from deep down, I'm actually operating from a sense of lack, that I am incomplete, I am unworthy, and I am in fear because I don't know how long this person can stay with me. So if I work on that deep sense of lack, which is actually spirituality, because this sense of lack is ego. Either a sense of, like pride, that is ego. So this obsessive self-focus is ego. Or either I am unworthy, that is also ego. Now, if I begin to work on this sense of lack, and I affirm, there are affirmations in also this contemporary spirituality, and they work. Mother also talks about, in Power of Thought, Mother talks about affirmations, and it works. But the thing is, very rarely are people able to completely make a shift in their consciousness, that it's not a pretend that I am doing, it has actually happened. In the sense that if I was operating in my relationships out of a sense of lack, that I'm incomplete, I'm unworthy, and that's why, I want this better person to be with me and who can give me stability. So if I can actually work on this sense of lack, which I cannot do if not for true spiritual realization, things will change in my life. And if not that particular person, or at all a person, it doesn't matter whether it's a person or not, my life will become fuller and richer. But maybe in not the exact sense that I want, that maybe not with the exact same person, or because in persons we cannot gain settlement. So if I'm looking at a relationship with a sense of lack, I will always end up in some relationship which will continue that sense of lack. So these affirmations which affirm that I am full, I am complete. So the moment I have this inner fear, inner anxiety that person may leave me and I will be abandoned, immediately I write it down and I reverse it. And the pattern that I'm stuck into, which is a pattern of lack, I upturn that pattern of lack into I am full, I am complete. Now, how do I feel in the body when I am complete and I'm full? Then I don't require any person. Then I'm not hankering for a relationship. So you become content first within, and this has to stabilize. before rest of the things can manifest. If there is something in me which says, oh, I have been doing this for 2 days, why is not something manifesting like this? It doesn't work. Why I'm saying this with a bit of conviction, because I worked on it while I was diagnosed in the beginning, with cancer. And I saw my patterns of thought which were so negative and destructive, and I was reaffirming and making a shift. And now I don't know what worked, what did not. No idea at all. It's grace only that works. But I know that at least at the thought level, it helped me to be more positive and in faith, rather than to be in lack, that I will die of cancer, or what will happen to my children, all that negative loop. That really helped. And it brought a sense of inner faith and completion, I would say. At least that much it brought. Yeah. So I think there is a connection that with what you were sharing.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. And I think here, listening to you, it made me realize like that when it becomes, like you were saying, about a lack in oneself, or in a way, an energetic shift, right? What one believes about oneself, or just realizing that I am whole, I'm complete, and to focus on that without the need for whatever one is hoping for on the outside, right? Like that's key. And I don't know about, when I've heard some of these, I'll use Anthony Robbins because that's just one of the most loud kind of big voices, American voice. With I think he fills stadiums and things. When it becomes a focus on something external, right? Like manifesting, I don't know. For me, it's not about a car, but I've heard people saying that's what they want, or a certain lifestyle. That's when I go, well, if that becomes a sign of spirituality working, versus going to the level of, why do I want that car or that relationship? Or, in the end, it's to feel complete, right? So what I heard you saying is like, get to that place of just feeling that I'm complete and that I'm whole, and then whatever comes about is just a bonus.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And what doesn't come about doesn't become
Yeah.
it doesn't signify your worth, or how much mother loves you or not. None of that. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think this also relates with surrender. Because if I'm going through a turbulent time, and turbulent times are mostly when I am wanting something from life that is not happening, and there is an inner turmoil, that is turbulence. And the moment I'm tired of that turbulence, I say, Mother, okay, I'll go through this pain, and now I just don't want to achieve what I am hankering to achieve, because it really is making me suffer. So I'll go through this inner turmoil for as long as it has to stay. And now I don't want anything. So there also, when we surrender, yeah, when we surrender to the present moment, that right now, whatever I have in my life, I'm totally content with that. I don't want anything additional. Bringing the whole concentration of energies in the present moment. That also is equating to what you were sharing, like, feeling whole, complete right now, and surrendering to the here and now. That right now, can I make the best use of whatever is granted to me in my life? And there is enough. There is enough. And Thich Nhat Hanh, in one of his teachings, he shares that when we lose our stubbornness, that I want happiness this way only, this way, this with this person, this workplace, this country, when we lose that stubbornness and come back to the present moment with mindful breathing, then we see, oh my God, there are many things I can be joyous about. Life is not that sorrowful as I was imagining. So, this is also relating with surrender, surrendering to the here and now. Telling the mother that, Mother, thank you for this life, and I'm okay. I am not going to make myself suffer more wanting to go after my desires and needs. Yeah. Yes, Jasmine. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say that that's like coming, for me, it comes like full circle to that, that's the stillness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The silence, Mother says, the end of the prayer. It's like, that's the fullness, right? Ultimately, I adore thee in silence and listen to thee in a religious concentration. It's like the fullness of silence. It can be brushed aside, but ultimately, exactly when one realizes that whatever one is desiring, whether it's health or friendships or relationships or material things, it's like ultimately the fullness comes anyway in the silence, whether you get
Beautiful.
that or not, right?
Yeah, beautiful. Yes, yes. And isn't that beautiful that Mother is reminding us again and again in every prayer almost, she makes this full circle, as you said, in your words. She comes back. She says that, okay, on the surface there is agitation. Where do I find solace? I plunge into thy, silence. So she's reminding us again and again where to look for true contentment and joy. Yeah. Mm. But the silence is too silent. I think we are so used to excitement that we miss it. So, if only, as Mother says, that if only that life within, the reality within, this consciousness within, can become more concrete and real, she says, more concrete and real than the surface agitation, then a new life can start. Now this is more real and living in me rather than my stories are now just like dreams. They come and go and come and go. They don't have much importance, but now this inner silence, stillness, inner living presence, that is more concrete, that is more real. Then a new life starts.
Yes, very true. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. So thanks Swapna and Jasmine to be here, and thank you for the beautiful reflection
Thank
and
you.
discussion. Thank you.
Thank
Chalo.
you.
Bye bye.
It's
Thank
just
you.
funny
Bye bye.
how much reminders we need, how much
Yeah.
reflections we
All of us, I
need.
think.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Swapna.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.